Hey guys, welcome to Khaos Bikes Garage. I got this 73cc GIO engine that I've been trying to get running for a couple of years, and I think I figured out what the problem is. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to disassemble this engine today. Let's get at it. You want to crack those bolts like a little bit first before you start loosening them all the way. So you don't want the head to warp, so you want to take them off in a cross pattern. Now my experience with 4-strokes is a little bit limited, but it should be pretty straightforward because it's very similar to the other 4-stroke that I'm familiar with, which is my Honda 3-wheeler. This one's just a horizontal engine rather than a vertical. And this one's also got a CVT, but I don't think we're going to be needing to break too much into the bottom end at all. But one thing I ought to do is make sure that the engine's at top dead center first. Unfortunately, to do that, I'm going to have to pull this cover off. Oh no, I'm not. Here we go. Boom. It'd be a 14. Yeah, 14. Right, so you'll notice there's this hole right here. You pull the cap off there. You pull the cap off the side here, and you can spin the engine over. And in here, there's a line right there. You're gonna match it up with the line on here. There's actually a couple lines on here, but we want the T. There's the T line there. Now, you're safe to remove parts of the engine because everything will be lined up and it'll be a lot easier to put back together in the end. So I don't think this needs to come off because I believe this just pulls your rockers out. But these do, they do. Now this should reveal the rockers. Now that I think about it, this may leak oil even though there's very little in it, so I'm going to put something under it. Now, you always want to be mindful when you're doing this because there's these little washers on here that you don't want to lose. They're very important. You want to make sure you get those off and you want to keep those in a safe place. It's always a good idea to bag up your stuff and label it so you know where it comes from if you're unfamiliar with where it's coming from. What I like to do for the nuts and bolts is get one of these magnetic dishes. You can find them at Princess Auto or Canadian Tire. And you can put your nuts and bolts and washers all on here. And that way they don't get lost on you. It helps keep organized. Alright, as I thought, we revealed the rockers. I'm not sure how that helped the situation. So I believe if we pop this off and take that off, the head should come off. That should get us one step closer. That'll be another 10 millimeter. Very popular size on most of these engines. Most engines that are not car engines are full of 10 millimeters. It's kind of an on-running joke. People always losing their 10 millimeter. And it's super true. The manuals for these things online are pretty much non-existent because they're Chinese clones of a Honda engine. Yeah, see, that doesn't even come all the way out, but I wonder. The old dead blowout and see if we can get a bit of separation here. Oh yeah, it's coming. Well, we gotta get the timing chain off. See, so this has to come off one way or another. Scratching up the fake chrome on there, so that doesn't appear to be the answer either. I'm gonna go ahead and remove this guy. I believe this is holding in the tensioner for the cam chain, but I can't be 100% certain on that. Yep. So that is also not what is preventing us here. This is what we're looking at, and this ain't coming off. There's a cam chain in here that runs down into the case, which runs your valves and rockers, which are right here. Your valves are actually just under your rockers, kind of down in there. And there's a little tensioner in here that keeps the chain nice and tight so it runs true. And we need to get this chain off the gear that's up here on the cam. So I'm thinking, get an 8mm, pull this cover off here. And we'll see if taking out the rockers doesn't help this situation a little bit. So that's an 8mm and a 10mm. Aha, there we go. Alright, no need to get aggressive with it. See that? Now, as you can see, you get your timing gear. You see how this dot here is lined up at the top? That dot, you get a flashlight on this situation here. That dot right there means that everything's lined up as long as it's facing upwards. So when we did this here on the bottom end and lined all this up, that has lined this up. So now when we put it back together, we just line everything up and it should go together super smooth. I'm thinking the best bet is just going to be to pop this guy here off. That's a 9mm, it looks like. They make it weird, so I guess you got to make sure you know what you're doing. See, now I've gone ahead and moved it a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and line that up once again. Right about there. Now if this is anything like the three-wheeler, there's likely a button in here. Nope, there's no button in there. The object here is going to be getting those bolts off and pulling the gear off there. So we're going to put the wrench in like that, and hopefully that's going to hold it from spinning when I try to go at this again. It is. That's working just fine. Now, at this point, something I like to do just to ensure, in case the chain comes off of your cam gear, just wipe it clean. Clean it up as best you can so you can get some kind of marking on there. Now, you could use marker, you could use nail polish or paint if you choose, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a scribe and just scribe it on there so it's there forever. Right, in today's case, my scribe is actually with the lathe, so we're just going to use a screw and make a mark on there. It's not super deep, but it'll work. It's just enough so you can see where it should be lined up, just in case we lose the centering on this, which does happen and can be a real pain in the ass. Now again, make sure that you keep your nuts and bolts either bagged up, separated, or just that you know what is what. Alright, now I should be able to just pop this guy off. Aha, so the middle part's the bearing there. Maybe we can get under it. Yeah, there we go. We'll just slide off there. You don't want to force anything. It should be really easy, and it is. It is nice and easy. It's just a bit of a trick getting in there, but you'll see it's coming. There we are. Now in this case, if you want to be extra sure, another thing I'll do sometimes is I'll take a piece of tie wire. I'll take that tie wire and I'll just wrap it around here so that chain really isn't going anywhere. That's going to make life a lot easier, because if you lose the positioning of the chain on the gear or the chain down here in the bottom end, it's real difficult to put back together and make run again, because you're going to have problems when you try to start it because your timing is going to be all screwed up. Now we should just be able to remove this head. And there it comes. Cam gear is in the way here still. Again, you always want to be gentle. You don't want to force anything. There's really no need to force it. Unless there's a need to force it, then you got to force it. Oh yeah, the carb's still attached. All right, with the head there. Now you'll see in here, there's this little black wheel. Get a light on that for you. Appears to be like a wheel or a half wheel in there. That is your chain tensioner. That's going to hold your cam chain nice and tight. And just having a look at the piston and jug here, nothing looks glaringly wrong. Even the head looks pretty good if you ask me. The valves are a little dirty. but I got a reading of no compression on this engine, so that tells me maybe the rings are pooed. I mean, there could be several other things that are causing this. And now the next step is going to be removing this screw down here, and the engine should come apart quite easy. Another tip of advice, grab yourself a bag of shop rags. They're fantastic because they're extremely cheap. They last forever, and you get like 20 pounds of them. I don't know, I buy them for about $7 at Princess Auto, or if you're in the States, Harbor Freight, they sell them too, I'm sure. And that's a little trickier to get in there, simply because this shit's in the way. So I think what we're gonna do is get a little bit creative. So I got one of these fancy little bendy thingies, drill bits, and they bend pretty good. So I'm gonna put a big fat star on there, and I'm gonna get my impact driver. And we're gonna get in there with this, just like that. That does not appear to be working. You can barely, just barely get a screwdriver in there. We'll try that. Try a little bit of a bigger bit. There we are. One like this, where you've got another similar one just like it. This is where I would go like this and take some paint and just get a little screwdriver or something. Right, just get a little dot of paint, put on there and put on there. That way, you know that it comes from there. But again, if you don't know where the things go in general, you should be tagging and bagging everything, so there's no confusion for you later on. Now we should be able to remove this as far as I see. I'll take one more peek around. And then I'm going to come back in here with the dead blow. Let's see if we can just coax it to come off.
A few inches later.
I really am not seeing anything else holding it. I'm hoping it's not stuck on the starter there, because it looks like it just might be. Nope, it's not. So I mean, really, best thing we can do here, go at it with the dead blow. I think we're probably going to see either no piston rings or some cylinder damage.
2 hours later.
All right, there we go. We got that seal to break. You want to be careful, if you can, not to move the piston like I did. Because I'm going to be putting new gaskets in anyways, I feel like this is not a bad idea to give it a shot. It's looking like this might be trying to get caught on the starter though, just as I was thinking. Which does suck. That does make it a little bit more difficult. Because I was hoping not to have to pull the starter off to do the top end. We'll see if we can get the bottom off first here. Oh, nope. Well, that's a bummer. Let me get back in there with this because it's nice and long, even though it's a little bit unnecessary. Should do this just fine. I'm pretty sure I just broke this thing. Right, so it appears in here, there's little magnets. And it looks like they sit in these little pockets here. And they got springs behind them. So you really don't want to lose those. Because that'll make the thing not be able to start. And then you'll need a new starter. They do fit in those pockets. So I'm going to make them stay down with something. I think I can probably fashion some kind of clip. You gotta really be mindful of them springs. That's super frustrating. But I mean, just don't lose them. This is really silly that you have to do all this nonsense just to get into here where I need to be at. I wonder if I can take that screw here. Maybe this front assembly will come off. There we go. I don't want to have to pull the whole thing off. And of course you want to be mindful of that guy, which is your chain tensioner. And you can just put that back there for now. And here's the jug. The jug itself doesn't look too bad, but we're gonna have to do a little bit of measuring to make sure that it is still within spec. What I'd like to see here is the piston and how it looks. So I'm gonna have to take this right off, which is something you may have to do in this situation. Now the chain isn't really important. What's important is lining this gear up with the bottom end. So again, you can just take that off and put it over there. It's going to make life just a little easier. There's definitely some scratches, some markings. The rings don't look like they're really doing a whole lot of anything. So I mean, really that's probably a huge part of the problem. But we're going to pull this piston off and we're going to examine it a little closer. Now probably the most important thing about pulling a piston off is taking a rag here and closing up the engine case, because when you pull these clips, if they go in the engine case, it's going to be a fucking nightmare to get them out. Now these clips are almost invisible, so I like to use a tool like this. It's a little hook tool. Again, you can buy these at Harbor Freight or Princess Auto or probably Canadian Tire or Walmart even. And you can get in here and you can just grab it by the end. It should give you a chance to pop out the pin. It's hard when you do it from the little spot they give you, but grabbing the end can kind of get under it and then pop it out. Not particularly easy in its own right, and that's what the rag's there for, is because you don't want to risk losing these. Just trying to get the pin reoriented. Pushed it back around here, and then hopefully I can get her out. There we go. Now you can just get this under it and pull her out. They're spring steel, so they're very difficult to bend or break. That's what they look like. Again, you're going to put those with the rest of your stuff. At this point, if you want, you can just push the wrist pin out through that side. You don't have to remove both circlips, I don't think. I'll keep them starter springs over there as well. Again, we're going to get in here and push that clip around. And just get under the corner of it and it'll pop out, just like that. Boom. And again, be careful not to lose it. I don't think that we needed to do that really, but just push that out. Now there's your wrist pin. Again, don't lose it. And there's not even a bearing in here, so that's really easy. It makes it really easy. So there's a piston, and they tell me it's supposed to be 47 millimeters. So we're gonna pull out the old caliper and have a peek. I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna have a little peek here. Yeah, see, so we're at, it's supposed to be 47, but I'm getting 45. 45 and a half. Yep, so this piston's toast. And I mean, look, if you examine it real close, the rings aren't even sticking out of the piston. Make sure to join me in part 2 where we will reassemble the engine and test it out. If you found this informative, leave me a like and please consider subscribing. Get your Khaos Bikes merch at store.streamelements.com/khaosbikes and check out my other channel, youtube.com/khaosdubs for some brand new crypto content. See you in the next one. Thanks for watching.